Welcome back to the official Atari Games podcast. This is Jason here, joined by, again, David Paige. Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
He leads all our VCS efforts. We're joined by a couple of folks from the SneakyBox side because we are here to talk about Berzerk Recharged. Gytis, lead designer on the title. Welcome. Back, I should say. You were last year talking about Doom. And Mateusz, lead artist. I don't want to say unsung hero, that doesn't sound right, but you have been on Recharge games since, what was the first one you did?
I started with Yars. That was the first game that I was like whole process.
Nice, good stuff. So that would mean Yars, Missile Command, Caverns of Mars, Quantum, and now Berzerk. So literally half. That's 5 of 10 because Berzerk is going to be the 10th entry in the Recharge series. So thank you guys for joining. You want to count?
No, I trust Jason math over David math any day.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for joining, guys. We're going to have some fun. We're going to play a little bit. But first, I got to start with a little bit of news. I didn't write a script like I normally do, even though those are usually pretty loose guidelines.
Supposed to be scripted?
Whole ordeal. No, absolutely not. Usually I have like a bit of notes, like like the last episode. By the way, if you skipped the last episode because we weren't talking, explicitly Atari stuff, you should check it out because we talked about Alan Wake 2 with a Recharged alum, and we talked about the the transition from Recharge to AAA development with Tadas, formerly of SneakyBox. So that was a pretty fun episode. Check that out.
Well, it's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And he has to tell the truth as well. Paige has to tell the truth. He can't lie.
That's right. It's
written in his contract.
Yeah, and then the daily drugs that you forced me to take.
We're not supposed to talk about that here.
Oh.
So anyway, news-wise, here's what we got. We released last week Roller Coaster Tycoon Adventures Deluxe. You could get that on consoles now. You get that on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X and S. And if you're listening to this, then that means you can now buy Berzerk Recharge. So do that. That's on all those platforms, in addition to PC on Steam and Epic and Mac as well. And works great on the Steam Deck, by the way. And, of course, the Atari VCS. So Go check it out. Before we get into actually playing, and we'll talk all about the Berzerk stuff, I like to jump in with a warm-up question, a complete thing that's unrelated to anything that we're about to talk about, just to warm up, stretch the legs, as you will, right? And since we're talking about Berzerk, I want to know one thing that makes you guys go Berzerk. A pet peeve of sorts. Something that grinds your gears. Gytis is thinking hard about it. Mateusz, I don't know if you have an answer off the top of your head. I usually like to throw it to my guests, but putting you guys on the spot for an unprepared question, as the nature of this, is always difficult to do. So I'm going to do it to Paige.
Okay.
Paige has a lot of openings here because he has kids.
I do. This is a kid unrelated. You know what grinds my gears? You are in a car, particular passenger seat, and you pull up to wherever it is you're going, and you open the car door, and the curb is higher, and it scrapes the car door scrapes along that. I hate that. That's a minor pet peeve of mine.
All right, that's a good one. Well, looking at the screen, I'm going to go counterclockwise here. And Mateusz, what do you got? You got something for us? Could be anything.
Yeah, sure. I think after I moved to Germany, I'm used to very fast packing like the shoppings in the supermarkets because cashiers here are like extremely fast. And when I'm coming back to my country, I want to yell on the cashier to just do it faster. Like I'm all about efficiency now.
As German heritage, my mother and then the rest of that family is all German. I appreciate what you're saying, and it is so true. It is so true.
Just being in New York, I could appreciate this because everywhere in the world moves slower than New York. That said, I can't find. I respect it. I respect the sentiment, but if I shared it, I would drive myself crazy, and I don't want to be that curmudgeon New York who goes down to the south and be like, speak faster. I don't want to be that guy. Gytis, what do you got? And it can be me, by the way.
I think I thought of two things, but I guess unrelated to games would be...
It could be related to games, whatever you want.
Just the overabundance of cars in major cities.
Right.
I'm very pro walking, and I just want more like pedestrian lifestyle to flourish in cities. So I don't know. I feel like people are buying too many cars.
Fair enough. People buying too many cars. That's good. It's also a very environmentally friendly one. So if I'm last, I guess I got to say, I'm going to put this out in the world because then maybe somebody will call me out on it if I ever am guilty of this. My biggest pet peeve is when somebody's explaining something to you and you say, I got it, I understand. And then either them or somebody else continues to explain that exact same thing instead of moving forward in a conversation.
Yeah.
I got it. That's why I said the words, I understand. It's like,
No, but if you for some reason didn't really understand it, I have to keep going.
you know what? Fair enough. Totally. When you put it like that.
No, it's still rude, but whatever.
Yeah, but as I have twins, they're both 11 years old, and my daughter says, I got it, and I know she doesn't get it. She's just telling me to shut up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep explaining this. I'm going to keep explaining this one
It's
to you.
notwithstanding, as a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Also, here's the thing. If someone says they got it, and then they do it again, then you got them, right?
Yeah.
Then you got them in the trap.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
anyway, fun little icebreaker there. Let's jump over and play some Berzerk Recharge. Like I said, it'll be out by the time you hear this. So let's see. I'm gonna flip over this thing here. I'm gonna switch over to there, and then I'm gonna quit here. All right. So here we go. We got Berzerk Recharge. Now, before actually really getting into the game, Paige, I actually want to dish it to you.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some history? Can you educate us? Why?
Oh, okay.
Why is Berzerk? What is Berzerk? Who is Berzerk?
To whom is Berzerk?
Give us the lore. Give us the background. I think you are the most versed of all of us to
You
regale
mean
us.
the oldest of us?
No. Maybe, but that's not what I meant. Maybe.
Well, I mean, Berzerk. It's a great 1981. If I'm not now, I don't have a script because I wasn't prepared for this question. But 1981, Stern Electronics, who was mostly known for their pinball machines and still is known for their pinball creations, they taking the cue from Space Invader craze and Pac-Man craze, dove into the crazy, wacky world of arcade cabinets, and Berzerk was certainly their biggest hit. And I remember it being in the arcades at that time, and it was different. Like a lot of the arcade machines back then, it was designed to be hard to get your quarters as quickly as humanly possible, and Berzerk was never shy about that. But I think one of the things that really captivated, a fan of video games was the robot voices, and chicken, fight like a robot, and those the taunting that no other game did. The game taunted you and then continued to punish you, with those taunting voices, and then that evil Otto, that maniacal smiley face that is like, oh, look how happy a smiley face is coming for me, as he pounds you into the ground. So yeah, and then they had a sequel of Frenzy, which was not quite as successful as Berzerk, but Berzerk is a very beloved arcade classic. I don't know if that was good enough, complete enough history, but that's a quick thumbnail history.
I think that was awesome. I think that was great. Thanks a lot. I really
Off the top of my
appreciate it.
head.
So, based on that info, I think Gytis, you're the obvious next step here. With when approaching Berzerk Recharge from a design standpoint, what was some of
Well, mostly it was just what the game was at the time was pretty clear, of like having a top-down shoot 'em up. So naturally, we just looked at what do modern twin sticks are doing these days. Like what design philosophies we get for like having that perspective of like room-to-room combat. So I don't know, just look at a bunch of primarily, I guess, roguelikes, because that's what I'm most familiar with, like Binding of Isaac and that sort of thing. and just thinking about what we could do with the format. Honestly, one of the first things was immediately, maybe like also related to art, is that how we're gonna present this game with a modern look when the original was very like skewed of like, okay, we're seeing these like humanoid enemies in perspective, and then like all the walls are just flat cubes. So it just sort of, that was like, Berzerk seemed like a natural thing to do for Recharge, but that one question just posed like sort of a small risk in my head. How is this gonna look? We need to talk about this.
Absolutely, and that was a pretty long discussion as we started the process. So Mateusz, I think that's a good point for you to jump in. Speak a little bit.
When I was starting the research for Berzerk, I saw that it went to two different versions. Like I found board game when main enemy is basically like this buffed robot who's like on the cover art, and like in the original we have this like goofy ball that is chasing us around the map, and we were trying a different levels of how simplified the art should be, because I think this is the first Recharge series that have humanoids in there, which was quite challenging. And yeah, I think we were just balancing simplification and directness in the art.
Cool stuff. You know, going back to that point you were making, Gytis here said roguelike, right? And I think a lot of games today, like, you know, look at the roguelike structure. A lot of them are these kind of shooters or brawlers and this combat, things like that. But it's not really far removed from what the original game was. And in that sense, actually, I turn to Paige to say, like, you know, most games that were released back in the day, especially arcade games, they were all designed to kick you out to the beginning every time you lost and make you start again.
Yeah.
Like, is there really an example of a... I mean, that was the point, right? It was just before that denomination of saying, yeah, you're a roguelike. It's like, no, you're an arcade game. And that's effectively what this is, right? Is there any... Can you think of any game, or better yet, I'd actually ask, like, how pure do you think... How close are we to keeping the spirit of the game?
I think you as a fan of Berzerk, when I first played it, when I started to test it, was like, oh, what is this? You know, because the twin stick, I immediately felt like this feels like, you know, more like Robotron, right? With the twin stick on that. But very quickly that for me, that disappeared on that, just because of I think you've kept very nicely to the idea of being pursued and being chased room to room. With Otto, this menacing force that's coming at you. And so I think you've kept that. Now, again, being a fan of Berzerk, at first I was like, well, the walls aren't electrified, which was a big thing in that game.
Good time to bring that up as I enter a room with an electrified wall.
Right. And it took me, at first I was like, well, why aren't these electrified? Why is there not an immense amount of robots coming at me? And one of the things I like is the diversity of enemies now. It's not just these robots. There's a little more logical sense in terms of you have these sentries, you have these pursuers, and then you have the robots. But as you get better, right, and you go on, I realized really quickly the subtlety of that Berzerk Recharge is punishing you for surviving. Because as you go along, you start to then see the electrical walls, and the spaces are getting tighter. Because at first, Evil Otto would be coming in, and it's like, well, there's a lot of room here. I can dodge. I appreciate he has to follow the walls as well. But then I realized, like right here, these walls are much tighter, and that they're becoming electrified, and Otto is moving faster, and he's going through those, and it's like, okay, this is, we're going deeper into the planet or the facility or whatever your imagination's saying, what this guy is going through. The deeper you go into it, the deeper you're in trouble. And I like the scaling of that. And I also like being punished, like an arcade game, being punished for that you have to start over again. Pop in your next quarter.
Oh my god, that was a pretty good run. Not.
Look at that.
All right, well I beat Sam. Sam's number 13. He's got to step his game up.
Nice.
Yeah. So, we have, as usual with Recharge, we have the arcade and the mission. So I was just playing the arcade, and that is endless. I'll do one more round of arcade. It's actually interesting to bring that up because one of the biggest differences, we talked about this. We had long conversations about this. But about whether we have an ending or not to this game. Some of the Recharge games, Gravatar was the first time we did it. Because it just seemed to make sense in that one. It's a more design experience.
Right.
And then we have Caverns of Mars. Again, it makes sense. Mars is not endless. And we have an ending to, Yars, which is literally the hardest ending to have.
I'm not even close to that ending.
Yeah. But this one, I think, Gytis, maybe you could talk about it. Like, what was between respecting the differences between Yars and Sprites? Like, are there what restrictions, I think, because that's always one of the hardest things about the Recharge games, right? It's like, at some point we have to stop to preserve the spirit of the original game. So what were some of the things that you kind of did? What was it like walking that line between those two titles and then also, modern games?
Pretty early on we told ourselves, we're gonna actually introduce the different wall types and not just electrify walls, just to have diversify things a bit. But it does sort of push into that direction of frenzy. So I guess the balance here is to just not overuse those different environmental pieces too much. Keep it pretty plain and then maybe inject them into some rooms, but keep the focus mostly on the enemies themselves. To have a sort of better balance, I guess.
And then, one of the things, when talking about keeping that original design, I remember all the different designs for Auto, but Mateusz, maybe it's worth speaking to, because I think Auto is such a presence. And anytime I've heard about people talking Berzerk, they always bring up each Auto. Terrific part of the key art, but it's also a very prominent part of the game. So what is... you want to talk about the design process of creating Auto for Berzerk History?
Yeah, sure. At first, I didn't know how much detail it should be. I was experimenting with robotic visuals that would fit the rest of the enemy. But there is something very creepy about this big smiley face that is chasing you, and I think it's worked the best, the simplicity of this enemy who is running around and trying to get you. And I really like this simplify emojis that are changing and reappearing when he's getting closer to us, which with the sound it makes very alive and reactive for our contact with him during the gameplay.
There was some really, they were awesome. You had some really cool, different designs for Auto. I'm sure we could probably share some of those.
That'd be cool.
I hope so.
Yeah, there was one where it was him inside of almost like a giant wheel, right? And his face was on the front of it. It was almost, yeah. We had a bunch of these crazy designs, but it's again walking that. The hardest thing about Recharge, I think, is trying to keep that purity to an extent. The mission is always the game. It's the games as you remember them, as you think they were, not as they actually were. You don't want to break that, So the moment you put Auto in a big wheel or over design it, we'll say, and I don't mean that as a pejorative. I just mean that you want to see really cool stuff, especially in modern day, but it was that simplicity of this giant smiley face. I think that's what it was. It was just the oddity of it all, to have this, I'm trying to think of it, this personified Vegas sphere bouncing towards you. And that was, by the way, this was before the Vegas sphere even opened, is when they finalized the design.
We created the idea. They just stole it.
If anything, we should be getting,
we're
anytime. Yeah, totally, no doubt.
And
Yeah. Go ahead.
like making the design of auto look simple in just that circle wasn't really obvious at first. Like we thought we had to change something up because we actually ended up just picking the option that's closest to the original, which is kind of great.
There's so many. How many rooms are in the game, Gytis?
Ooh, and the exact numbers eludes me. I think it's definitely over 150. I think
That's wow.
in the arcade mode.
Yeah, because because you have the assortment from the missions.
Yes, rooms from the missions are reused to some extent, but they are also a lot of them are modified to fit better because, well, there's several differences between missions and arcade, but in missions we don't have all the doors open. So just because of that, in arcade we have to have a bit more freedom than in missions.
And then you also have you've also added these consumable items. Like that's one. I think this is the first time we really had that in a recharge game. So we have a lot of power-ups. So maybe speak a little bit about the power-ups themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we live in different times. Even though we want to remake a faithful game.
Hey, recharge. It's not a recharge game without Kobe.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, I finally got to this point. This is what I wanted to see. Purple auto is the best auto, and no one will tell me otherwise.
Sure.
All right,
yeah, what was I?
because I might before you should say.
So yeah, we just wanted to spruce things up with consumables and power-ups just to make it a bit more dynamic more often. Because, Berzerk, every time you start, it plays out almost the same all the time. Well, sure, the layouts are different. You can encounter enemies at different parts of the room, but it was very static in its design. So this was just an attempt to flesh that out.
There's my man smiling.
All in this glorious purple.
It was.
That was a good run.
Yeah, I thought so. Let's see if I make it to the top. Nope.
Oh, so close.
I mean, the top is pretty far, actually.
Yeah, that's a monster score. Now go to arcade and go to the options there, because this is a big change from previous. At 100% score. I'm as a fan as a big fan of Gravatar Recharge. I'm kind of taking some umbrage over the plus 2.5%. What happened there?
Different designers. Different decisions,
I
Yeah, I have
a score update sometime in the future for a variety of games.
That is an interesting point. But I did not touch the previous Recharge games at all. Yeah. So this is my first one.
Okay.
And I thought okay, we're already talking about thousands of score points in a given run. Why just stop at 2.5%? Why not give them copious amounts of score? And each of these modifiers does make the game harder quite a bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's worth it to give them play people more.
I go powerless and gravity. The Iron Man is a little too much for me at this moment.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about that, you bring up...
We want to make Iron Man even harder. Sorry.
You bring up the score modifiers. Gravatar was probably one of the first Recharge games that we were getting into, and I was like, I don't know if this game's hard enough. I think it's too easy. And then when it came out, people are like, Gravatar is so hard. It retains the spirit of the original, which is one of the hardest games ever. It's also one of the hardest games ever. I'm like, whoa! So I was like, people are gonna finish this game immediately. Like, it's not that difficult. It's like if you have patience in that game, it's actually pretty easy and soothing and relaxing. The missions are another story, but the arcade mode is actually kind of...
I've not finished the arcade mode on Gravatar, but I finished all the missions, thrust the clock. But but yeah, it's in terms of those modifiers and the extra points, little on the stingy side there, for going one hit. But and it's a stark contrast with I don't want to go too much into Gravatar, but Berzerk is definitely a different high score chasing. You have some difficult choices to make in terms of I could get 300%. Right, by taking all the options, but you may not last very long, so you may not get a high score. But can you avoid not using the dash? Which in the beginning, it's like like in these rooms, avoiding auto is not a big deal. You don't need dash. I never touched the dash. When I got into red, and a couple times I've graced the purple enemy, I was like, oh, I need that dash. I need that dash big time.
Yeah.
And it's tough choices. And so having that 100% really pushes you to make some really big decisions on how you play that game. So.
Yeah, totally. Important to say, like, while talking about some of the differences and, what makes this actually a recharge game, that dash, you might have just seen me use it, like, it'll make you invulnerable for that period. So, you dash right through.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do give iframes for a bit.
Yeah, it's a huge help. Some of the pickups will also help with that. So there's two consumable items you can use. One is mine, and that does exactly what it says. The other is Eradicator or something like that.
Yeah. I only got that like twice, and I never understood what it did.
Gytis, you tell us what it does.
It eliminates all projectiles on screen.
Oh.
Yeah. Initial idea was to just a screen wipe, but then, it kind of makes stuff too easy.
Okay, but projectile, I didn't notice that. Okay.
The robots keep firing at you, and no bullets come out for a bit. Even that, like, it has some sort of period of activation.
Okay.
So
now I'm just going through some missions here, just to show what that's like. I love this icon. It's like probably have more. There's a unique icon for each of these missions now, isn't there?
Yes.
That's also there. That's fun.
Yeah.
This guy, look at this cute little guy.
How could that possibly harm you? Huh?
Yeah. So.
Oh, it can.
So there's something to point out about here. Something with the missions. Oh my god. Basically, whenever you start in a room, general tip, that little configurational wall on the left is actually showing you the layout of the mission itself.
Yeah.
So that's like a little tip there. So if you ever get lost and you're like, man, what do I need to do? Then your guidance.
Yeah, we never explicitly explained that in the game, but I did want to sort of put in that nod to, like, okay, if you pay attention, you can sort of gauge what the mission is.
Yeah.
After going through a few of them.
This one, most of the missions have you like kind of navigating a predetermined maze. This is also predetermined, but it's not necessarily a maze because it's a straight line.
Yeah.
These are all scripted, so there's no randomization to these whatsoever.
Yeah, I really enjoy the missions and that can you get through this gauntlet, that's laid out before you. I really like, first of all, I hate you for those laser walls as they pop out and zap you. But I really like the subtlety of the glass walls where the sentries, the regular robots, don't give a damn and they'll just blast them out. But the drones, they're like, oh, I can't pass, right?
You took too long.
Let's try this one. Yeah, so here we go. So you see that kind of grid. So this is that's how this one's laid out.
Never picked that up.
Yeah, and on the middle. So then I go to the top. Good stuff. Yeah, I think that's one of the. Mateusz, do you find it like a difficult balancing act in actually translating this, like a game that requires certain amounts of depth, despite us trying to keep that original perspective? Because that was also a pretty large conversation that happened originally. If you want to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. Like exploring different perspectives was a big part of the production. I remember at some point we were even trying 3D to just like make production easier, maybe, but it didn't fit well enough in the spirit of recharge. So we passed this idea. But yeah, we had quite a road with like designing wall that will appear in the level, but they will not disturb the gameplay. That was the most important thing, that the walls will not affect our gameplay.
Yeah,
And I hope we did well with that.
Yeah, and that's why there's like a transparency on everything.
Yes, exactly.
So you can always see what's going on behind the wall. Because that was one of the big conversations, right? It was like, well, if you're behind the wall, what happens?
Yes, especially that we wanted to simulate the space between the player and the wall, and not just make a very flat square that would block the way. And yeah, but I think we managed to show some perspective, and it was an interesting part of the process.
So, yeah. Oh, the thing with the dash. I don't know if you saw me do it prior, but here's another tip for you if you're watching. If you have it, because you're invincible, bam, you could like body slam these enemies if you have if you time it right. Obviously, I did a little too right there.
Right.
Yeah, the guys who home towards you and explode, you can take them out with a dash. It's pretty useful. Cool.
Yeah, those drones, those guys can be tough, especially if you've got a room full of them and it's pretty open room and they all come zooming in at you. It's like, I can't spin and fire fast enough.
Let's end the discussion about recharge with well, I got one question, then I'll ask one more general question. Favorite auto color? I obviously told you it's purple, but and that's the right answer. But in the spirit of democracy, or just generally your own opinions, what do you think? Favorite auto color? Strong.
I'm gonna go with red, because that was the default we had when we started, and sort of what all the designs were based around.
You could thank our president, Ethan Zubek, for that. He said auto is yellow. So I was like, all right, he's got to be yellow. I don't know, Paige, you have a strong opinion?
I always think of auto as yellow, because that's the starting color of the enemies in the original. So I think of auto as yellow. And there's something even more disturbing of this yellow happy face, which is the traditional yellow happy face coming to pound you into the ground. And so I do prefer that yellow. It's like, it's you were talking before about that smiley face and all that. It's like it's an evil clown. There's something wrong with it, right? And it just makes you feel uneasy. So yellow, happy, sunshine, smiley face, that's out to kill you.
Mateusz, you're the artist, so you have the final word here.
Yeah, I'm feeling like this is the type of question, which child is your favorite?
And there's always an answer, right, Paige?
Day to day is different.
No doubt.
But in this case, I'm in the team purple.
Hell yeah.
Because it has also this like reddish tone on some enemies, which I really like, and it's just so pretty.
There you go. You've heard it here. Purple's best. Cool. Anything else that you guys want people to know about the game? Any tips? Anything? Any last word on Berzerk Recharged? Gytis?
Nope, no tips. People have to figure things out by themselves. I hope everyone that gets their hands on it has a great time.
I think everyone will. It's a really, really fun romp through robotic land.
Yes. Cool. Well then, let me see if I can finish this real quick. Let's just kill it. We'll just kill it, and we're gonna move on to wrapping up here, because we've been going for a little while now. So, all right, that's a bit of the game again. I'll recap this at the end, but you could pick it up now. So if that looked fun, it is fun, I can tell you, and it's worth it. So go get it. I like to always end these podcasts by talking about what we're playing, the non-Atari or Atari related, if that's actually what you're playing. So let's just talk about some games. Let's talk about some video games. Paige, why don't we start with you?
I got a few things on deck because I can't decide on anything. So I've been playing Mario Wonder, limping through Zelda Tears of the Kingdom because I put it down for many, many months, and I'm trying to pick it back up again. Diablo 3 on my Xbox 360. I just said, hey, I've owned it for many, many years. Let's actually play the damn thing. So, and then I've been playing a lot of Berzerk and a few other games that are in the pipeline.
Right on. Mario Wonder, what are your thoughts?
It's delightful. I mean, it doesn't. In one level, it's like, okay, it's another well-made platformer, Mario. You come to expect that, but then the Wonder Seed just makes it just wondrous. It's goofy, it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. And it from the parts I've gone through, it's pretty tight. So I've really enjoyed it a lot.
Awesome, good stuff. Mateusz, what about you?
So recently I'm going through my Steam library because I have like library of shame, the game I bought and didn't play. Probably everybody has one. And I'm going through Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh,
I gave this game a chance. I know that there was like some glitches and stuff happening in the beginning when they released it. But I have the feeling that people roasted it too much, and it's a very nice game, especially as I'm a fan of every BioWare game, so it's a nice space.
Negative Steam dogpile reviews; those are the worst.
I'd love to. I'd love to get back to that. It's been on my list, but too many things keep coming out. And just But hey, there's always hope to tackle backlogs. Like I played through Final Fantasy 13 for the first time this year somehow. When if there's a lull, there's a way.
Yeah.
Gytis, what about you?
What haven't I been playing? This year is just insane. I can't keep up. This is the first year I can't keep up with games, and I don't
blame you. Yeah,
I'm pretty on point with them.
Yeah.
Currently going through Alan Wake 2. Nice. That's magnificent. But yeah, I also did my toes into Lies of P. Didn't finish it. I also abandoned Baldur's Gate 3, even though I loved it.
Wow.
Platinum Spider-Man 2. What else? Oh, there's also a game called The Finals, which has just had its open beta for the past week, I guess. And that's very promising. It's a competitive first-person shooter. Ex-Battlefield people are making it.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of buzz around that. Cool.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Hopefully it comes out soon. I want to play more.
Nice.
But yeah, I still need to finish up Alan Wake 2. That game is amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, totally. That's high on the list. But my God, the pile on of games is crazy.
Yes.
So I'm eagerly anticipating Like a Dragon Gaiden that comes out. So as a result, between Spider-Man 2 and that, I have not started Alan Wake 2 like I said I would last week. I have to call myself out on that, but it is very high on the list. But my man Kiryu, he needs to take priority. So I'm actually playing Jusant right now.
That's on my list as well. I want to try that.
This is an absolute delight. I talked about Cocoon a few episodes back, and that was amazing. I sat through and played that in one sitting. It had this is in a year of spectacular releases. It's really cool to play a game that actually just is just an amazing game, like from start, just like the playing it, the mechanics. You're like, oh, that's really cool. And this game does it in a way where you have a very simple climbing mechanic that is where you actually control like your left and right hands as you're climbing things, and it's super intuitive and easy to use. It's not like trying to be those like a Quap or one of those kind of ridiculous games where it's like, oh, you're moving this lift and you're just kind of some goofy guy. No. But yeah, your goal is just climbing this giant, calling it a mountain's a little hard. It's just like this pillar of mass in the earth. It's crazy. And the sense of scale is something I have never experienced that like I have in this game. They capture it in a way where the first time you're hanging from a rope in like this giant open space and you see the horizons on one side and this enormous mountain on the other side, and like I actually felt a small stomach drop. And I've never felt that before while playing a game, and I was like, this is something special. So
what's it called again?
Jusant.
Jusant.
Jusant. Yeah, it's made by Don't Nod. These guys put out very interesting games. They did the original Life is Strange, I think. I think they also did. I think they did Vampire or Vampire, however you're supposed to say that. They've done a lot of interesting things, but this one is unlike anything they've done before, and it's something special. If you got Game Pass, it's on there, so I do recommend checking it out. Jusant. but I also recommend checking out Berzerk Recharge. Again, that's going to come out. That's out now. So
Game of the year.
And where can you get that? You get that on Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, PC through Steam and Epic, and Mac as well. Linux on Steam as well. And so that means it runs great on the Steam Deck and the Atari VCS. You can get that now. Before we say goodbye, let's do some quick where to find you. Gytis, where can people find you? On the streets of Kaunas, wandering.
Well, I'm not going to give out my address. But...
Well, no, don't do that. That's why I said the streets of Kaunas. I thought that was pretty vague. You can find me on the streets of New York.
I'm on the streets of DC.
There you go. And Mateusz is on the streets of Poland. Just Poland.
Yeah, I guess. Like, public social accounts, I probably don't really share that much.
Then don't worry about it.
You can always find me on LinkedIn with my real name, Gytis Dabašinskas.
If you could spell that.
Yeah, if you can even,
get a prize.
You can try, I guess.
Well done.
But yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Mateusz, where can people find you? Want to be found?
Yeah, I'm hard to find. I'm always between Germany and Poland, so I'm just switching all the time. But in the internet, I'm also on LinkedIn and on ArtStation. You can find me also with my name, so it's pretty simple.
You gonna say it?
Or Mateusz Kazmierczak. But
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the description. Don't worry. You don't have to do any guesswork. Find him on ArtStation. Support this man.
yeah, that would be perfect.
He does great work. So and thank you. And thanks for joining us, Paige.
You can find me trapped. You can find me trapped in this little box here. I'm on the VCS Discords. I'm on Atari Age forums. I have a small channel on Twitch that I'm now streaming more Atari games and things like that. So there you go. I'm everywhere, unfortunately. You can easily find me. Most people don't want to find me.
I'll tell you where else he is. He's also on the Atari Discord, the official Atari Discord, and you should join that if you've made it this far. That means you probably like us and what we do, or you like those handsome fellows over there. But either way, you should click that link in the description and join our Discord if you haven't already, and give us some feedback. I called for questions this week. There weren't many that were actually usable. Let me take a quick look here. Actually, I didn't actually jump to those. But I looked, and I was like, somebody asked about achievements. They just came out today. Someone was asking stuff about Digital Eclipse. We'll save I don't think I should comfortably speak to that. Music artists, does Berzerk continue the trend? Oh, yeah. All right, cool. Let's end with this one to show that I do read these questions, because all the others are irrelevant. Gytis, what's the band for the Berzerk achievements?
Oh, okay. For this, I picked Rolling Stones, actually.
Nice. So there you go. That was a question by...
I'll just scroll down before I could pick it up.
That was asked by Nod Toast. Nod Toast, thanks for the question.
I know Nod Toast. Hey, Nod Toast.
Send us up there. Give us some feedback on the podcast channel. And you can find me on X, formerly Twitter, at Jays of Doom. Always appreciate any feedback on the podcast. I also read all the comments on the YouTube videos, so I like the positivity. Keep it coming. Tell your friends. Subscribe on iTunes. Rate us if you can. That would be much appreciated. And until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks, guys.
Have fun with everything you're playing out there, but play Berzerk.
Yeah, do that. Bye, guys.
No, thank you for having us.